just getting more and more creative. And what he's going to teach on this afternoon is co-living. How many of you guys want to learn a little bit more about co-living, right? Because this is something that's very, very powerful, something that is very, very needed in the marketplace. So without further ado, let's bring up Mr. Eric Tate. Let's give him a huge round of applause and welcome him up.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Forward. Go next, that's how you go back. All right, cool.
All right, how's everyone doing? All right, I'm super excited because I get to talk about co-living, which is really one of my most passionate strategies. We've tried a lot of different things, and we are all in for co-living. So let's jump in. All right, before we get going, just a quick intro. So I am CEO and founder of Velocity Investments, LLC is our company, but velocity-properties.com is our website, along with my beautiful wife, Valerie, who's back there. I'm a full-time real estate investor, have my license. I'm a capital raiser for other projects, other folks in RPM as well. Husband and father of 5. I was in the corporate world for 30 years, just doing the grind, right? I was at E-Trade, I was at Franklin Templeton. Last 16, I was at Blue Shield of California, senior director, chief of staff, super cool role, but really stressful, really demanding. And the key is 3 years ago, actually 3 years ago, I was in this hotel attending my first RPM conference. And since then, I've been able to raise over $6 million for 31 transactions, and I was able to leave my W-2 about 2 years ago. So, and just a moment of gratitude. I mean, I couldn't have done it without Amy. I mean, truly, this community gave me the confidence, gave me the tools to just take off. And so I really have a lot of gratitude for this group. Investment specialties. So we've, like Sean said, we've dabbled in a lot of different things. We've done 15 flips. I'm a big fan of small multifamily, taking projects and breaking them up into smaller units can be very profitable. We were partners in 3 different apartment buildings. And lately now, we just closed on our 3rd co-living property yesterday. So very excited about that. So total about 63 units. Thank you. And I manage it all myself. And so it's kind of a full-time job. And at some point, I might have to move away from that. But that's where we are. Okay, since Sean's such a big advocate of the F word, I decided to make it a little bit of a theme here. So we're going to talk foundation. What is co-living? Why is it amazing? We're going to talk how to find these. This is, finding everything about here is unique for co-living. You're looking for different types of properties for different reasons. We'll talk about that. How to fund them. It's also very different. It's similar to a BRRRR, but lenders don't quite know how to do this yet. So there's ways around it. We'll talk through that. What we're looking for in a fix when renovating. Like you're going to do some crazy things where most investors will say, what are you talking about? Converting a living room to a bedroom? What? So we'll talk about that and how cool it can be. And then filling it, by far the most important piece. Looking for how you fill them with the residents and what you're looking for and what the process for that, whether you use pad split or not. We'll talk about that. And then finally, I want to show you some financials and just how amazing this can be. It's going to be best case scenario, but still, I thought it'd be important to show. All right, so what is co-living? So co-living is basically a modern form of communal housing. Unrelated individuals share private living space like a bedroom, possibly selective shared spaces if there's shared bathrooms, and then communal space like kitchens, eating areas, patios, and so forth. And this strategy is such a win-win in so many different ways. I mean, it provides clean, safe, affordable housing to people who need it. It also creates an instant community. I mean, I was blown away. And I'm like, man, are people going to want to do this? This is kind of weird, right? But people absolutely love it because they get an instant community of people they can live with. Maybe they don't have time for church or different groups. They don't have a lot of friends. It gives them an immediate like a community. And then of course the financials are amazing. It's three times or more the revenue of like a long-term rental. So, all right, why co-living? So it really solves some important problems both from the tenant perspective and from the investor perspective. So on the tenant side, there is really no great solution for the American workforce, right? So there's, according to Pad Split, 14 million American 1- and 2-person renter households that make less than $35,000 a year. And then you combine that with Apartments.com data, where the average rent for a studio is around $1,384 in the US, $1,863 if you're in California, right? And then couple that finally with the standard qualifications for a rental, 630 to 650 credit score. It must earn 3 times the rent or about 50 grand a year. So you see this obvious problem here, right? There's a huge population of people that are unserved that really have very few options when it comes to housing. So it really helps solve that affordability problem. And then on the investor side, I think we're all living, in a difficult time where interest rates are killing us, right? There's low inventory because sellers they have a 3% mortgage. They're not going anywhere. Compressed yields because of the interest rates, because of rising costs, insurance killing us, right? The short-term rental space, there's saturation in a lot of the key markets, and regulations could change your business overnight, right? So there's risk there. Flips, very difficult. Very soft market right now. It's very difficult to make flips work, and everyone's chasing the cash flow challenge. So co-living is a true solution for these big problems. So in general, what we're talking about is taking a property and say you'd have a 4-bedroom, 2.5, 3-bath, right? And if you put it as a long-term rental, maybe it's $2,400 a month, and all your expenses, including mortgage, $21. So maybe your net cash flow is $300. It's a pretty reasonable type of a situation. Instead, what you do is you then convert some of the low-value space, dining room, an office, bonus room, into bedrooms, maybe add a bathroom, and you turn this into a 6-bedroom, 4-bath, and you can rent it, according to Pad Split's data, $775 is like the average. In California, I'm getting between $1,000 and $1,300 per room. Expenses a little higher because you have utilities included and some other things that we'll talk about. But you can see that the net income is ridiculous. It's just a game changer, totally different. Certainly there's some challenges. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it can be very profitable. Okay, so let's talk about finding properties. So this is my favorite part because when I look for a co-living property, I'm looking for something that generally nobody else wants, right? Most home buyers are looking for the normal 3-2 and a nice neighborhood, white picket fence, right? I'm looking for big houses that maybe it's on a busy street. Maybe it has a super choppy floor plan that nobody's going to want. Maybe it's got some crazy neighbors. Maybe it's not nearby schools, right? There's a lot of things that people aren't looking for these, so your competition is automatically lower. Obviously, look for motivated sellers is the key. And then don't be afraid to make disrespectful offers. So I love this, not so much because you're trying to get your offer accepted. I find it as a communication. It's a kicking off of a negotiation, right? So if someone has a house listed for maybe $500, maybe you throw an offer for $425, and just to see how they react. How they react is going to tell you a lot, right? If they don't respond to you, or they offer $495, a counter offer at $495, you know where they stand, right? Whereas if they counter maybe $445, hey, you might be onto something. And so I like that model. It opens the negotiation. Other things you look for is lots of parking. So this is our second property that we bought in Fair Oaks, California. It's in Sacramento. So this is 2 sides. It's on a corner, as you can see. This is one side of the street. The bottom picture is the other side. So it's a large 3,000 square foot. I made it, very low maintenance landscaping. As you can see on the far side is a busy street, but there's 4 off-street parking spaces, tons of parking on the street. So you definitely want to, need a lot of parking. The key thing with co-living is you don't want to piss off the neighbors, right? The neighbors is the one that can cause a problem. Even though whatever you're doing is completely legal, you just don't want to cause any problems. So parking, making sure the trash cans are taken out, they don't sit out there all week, that the yard is not a problem, right? So just making sure you do these little things, and it saves you in the end big time. Stay away from HOAs. They can make your life really difficult. I look for at least 2,000 square feet of living space, preferably 4 bedrooms that can be with space that can be converted. I like to look for ability to add bathrooms. So we like to approach a 1-to-1. We can't always do that, but no more than 2 people sharing a bath is generally the best approach. I like to look for properties that are close to multiple employment opportunities. So not just but maybe there's a shopping mall, or there's a tech hub, or there's government buildings close by, right? You want multiple employment opportunities, and then potentially something closer to public transportation. If you follow Jamil Jamji, he triple-digit flip, He's partners with Pace. He's got a ton of really good content on YouTube. And so this is one of his criteria. He looks for, something close to public transportation. I personally like the high rent locations where affordability is a challenge. So I'm going to go through an example here next of a property that we purchased and how we're making that out. And then lastly, you just want to make sure that there's no specific regulations in your city or your municipality around the number of unrelated people that can live in a property, right? So you just want to try to avoid that. I haven't found this very often, but when you find it, it usually means they're looking for it. So you want to check that out. All right, I'll give an example. So this is a house that we actually just closed yesterday. This is in Orangevale, California, right outside of Folsom. And so here's some of the things that I look for that I loved, right? Some people look at these and see problems. All I see is dollar signs. So I walked it, and there was 5 dogs barking on this other side of this chain link fence, just barking like crazy, right? So obviously it's going to turn off some buyers. The backyard was a huge backyard, has no real grass, and then they built this deck off of the living room with no stairs. So there's basically no access to the backyard. Like, what home buyer is going to buy that? I mean, it's just crazy, right? And then the floor plan is really choppy. This is like a 2-level living room separated by a fireplace. Kind of a cool concept, but then it just breaks down, it breaks up the whole space. It doesn't feel like it flows. But again, it's perfect for what we need. We're actually going to convert these 2 living rooms to bedrooms. And then this is the coup de grace. So this is the neighbor. So on the left is the house that we just bought. On the right is this neighbor, which I'm not political. I don't buy into this. I love it. They have like 3 Trump signs. They have no less than 40 political stickers on this car, right? Including, Trump is still president, unvaccinated, conservative, meat-eating, gun owner. How else can I offend you? I mean, you can't write this. I mean, so if you're a homeowner, and 50% of the people that are coming to look at that house are going to be like, I'm not so sure. Well, it's California, it's probably 60%, right? So I love it, though, because it's less competition. And in the MLS listing, it said, in caps, the first line was motivated seller. So had everything going forward, which was perfect. So, all right, so again, we just closed yesterday. So it's 2,600 square feet, currently 6-bedroom, 3-bath. I'm going to convert it to an 8.4. It was listed for $725 in early August. Again, motivated seller, right, in caps. They dropped it to $650 over 48 days. I got under contract for $610, released $620 with a $10,000 credit. I wrote in a 2.5% commission to me because I'm the agent, so almost like a finder's fee. And then I saw this massage chair in the theater room, and I said I have to have that. I'm writing that in, and they accepted it. So, total score. So we got, the lender did a appraisal and appraised at $725. So it's, when you find the right motivated seller, you can see there's really nothing wrong with this property. I mean, it could literally, I put it up for rent before it even closed, and I have like 2 people that I'm going to show next week. So it's a good deal. All right, funding. So again, I mentioned most lenders don't know how to handle co-living, right? You go to a lender and say, have this property? Yeah, it's going to gross $7,000 a month in rent. And they're like, yeah, right. I don't buy it. So, and they'll do their own market rent survey, and it'll come back at like $3,000, of course, right? So what I do now instead is I used a hard money loan, even though there wasn't a lot of construction needed for this. Use a hard money loan, fill it up with tenants, give it 3 to 6 months seasoning where you can actually collect the rents, and you can show it on your bank statements, and then you go to a bank or a lender, and you get a DSCR loan after that time period. So for those not familiar, DSCR is debt service coverage ratio. It's basically like a commercial loan for residential where they take the performance of the property for the lending decision versus the borrower itself. So that's what I'm doing here. I got a partner. He brought in $160,000. I'm doing all the work. I'm going to manage it, and we're going to split it 50-50. That's the structure we have here. There's also potential of using short-term rental lending data. So some lenders, if you say it's going to be a short-term rental, they'll take Airbnb data, 75% of that, and they'll qualify you based on that. So that's another option. I love using partners, private money lenders. And then the house hack strategy is awesome. So we have, our daughter is house hacking right now. So we converted a garage in Rancho Cordova to an ADU. She lives in the ADU, she rents out the 3 bedrooms, and she basically covers her rent. And she's getting appreciation, and she's only 22, so she's already a homeowner. And we have an 18-year-old who is gonna do exactly the same thing. As soon as he gets a job, he's gonna buy a large house, rent the bedrooms, and then probably positively cash flow. And you know, that's the brilliant strategy, because 3.5% down, you get the best rate, and you can do that every year. And then, you know, he's planning to do that every year and save up for the down payment in between. You can turn around someday and you're gonna have like 5 houses that are cash flowing. So it's a great strategy, especially for kids who can handle, you know, living with other people still. I couldn't. All right, fixing. So let's talk about renovation. So you do some crazy things in these houses, right? So you're really trying to maximize bedroom space and minimize common space. So for example, this is the same example here, where you convert, maybe there is a library or an office and a dining room or a living room, and you can add a bathroom, right? So you want to maximize that space and leave, you know, some common space, kitchen space, space to eat, and so forth. I don't put TVs in the commons area either, just trying to promote quiet, you know, livable space. You can utilize mini splits for HVAC if possible. That's always best, where you have the ductless mini split, you know, on the walls, remote controlled. You can control the heating and air in any location separately. If not, you can have rules around the HVAC and what the thermostat has to be set for. And I also put digital locks on all the doors with private codes. So, you know, each person has their own code, and they put it in to get into their bedroom. Also, Ring cameras outside on the exit doors, and I give them access to that. So if they want, they can monitor on their phones or whatnot. Refrigerators and pantry space is absolutely key. So I have 4 refrigerators in both of my first 2 houses and plan to put a couple in. On this next one, we're considering maybe 2 large refrigerators and then mini fridges in each of the rooms. So that might be an option, something that we move toward. You could do coin-op laundry, your choice. We haven't done that yet. And then lastly, people always ask, like, well, what about you can do all these crazy renovations? What if you try to sell the house? And so what I try to do is make the renovations that could possibly be reversed if needed. I mean, it's pretty easy to put up a wall and take it down, relatively speaking, so that's what we do. So here's some photos. You can see, like, you know, this is one of our houses, a large kitchen island that doubles as an eating area. We furnish some of the bedrooms, some of them we don't. I think we're gonna move toward not furnishing the bedrooms. It gets a little bit more longer term, a little more serious resident who wants to come in. And then as far as renovation, so the photo on the left is a living room where you come in the entry and this living room's off to the right. It's totally segregated from the rest of the house. No one's going in this room. So what we did is we built a wall across here, put a door, very simple, and then that bathroom on the right is actually along that back wall. So we just took that back wall and we took about 4.5 feet of space and we put that bathroom in there. So now you come in to the door, bedroom, private bathroom, rents for $1,200 a month. So I mean, it probably costs us $6,000 to do that. So pay back in like 5 months. Love the model. All right, filling. So what do we look for? I look for at least 630 credit score, 3.5 times the rent and documented income, positive responses for landlords last 3 years, no evictions, and clean background. So that, and I try to stick to that. So if we've had 2 issues in our co-living house where I took a sob story, right, put somebody in that didn't meet the criteria, and I paid both times. And you know, it causes such a problem for the whole house. I ended up just doing cash for keys and moving them out. But it was lesson learned. Like, I always stick to these criteria now. There's always a reason why, you know, they don't have 3 years or, you know. All right, so my process is if they're interested, I'll tell them about it on the phone. I'll go and show them the property, have them fill out an application. I use TurboTenant. I also take Zillow applications. And then I set up a meet and greet with the tenants themselves. So they can get in, they can ask questions, they can talk about it. And if everything looks good, I take, you know, then and only then will I move forward. I like to target working professionals and active retirees. I think that's a really good demographic, but obviously you can't discriminate, but that's just, you know, what I try to target. For marketing, I mentioned I use TurboTenant. I use TurboTenant for everything. I love it. It's very simple. I do it for the advertising. It does the leasing. It does the background. It does the payments. Has a portal for maintenance. It's very simple. Also post on Zillow. Zillow allows you to post room rentals now. About a year ago, they added that. Facebook is always a great place. And then Roomies is more of like a roommate website. Sometimes I'll use that. So I've been using month-to-month leases. Now, I know that there's a concept of a membership agreement. There's some leaders in the industry. I mentioned Jamil Damji, also Sam Wiegert in North Carolina. He's got a coaching program around this. They both use membership agreements. We may transition to that. I've heard in California that the courts don't really diversify, or they don't see them as different, right? Someone's living there, they're going to live there. I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. We'll see. I'm not a lawyer. Get your own lawyer. But month to month, that way you can, if there's a problem, theoretically, you can just not renew their lease, and then they would have to move out. California, once they've stayed in a place for 12 months or more, you can't refuse to not renew their lease. You have to renew their lease unless there's cause. So that's why I do the month to month, test it off, and see if it works. And then lastly, I have a set of house rules that I give to them all and have them read and sign beforehand. Things like no weapons, no drugs, rules around overnight guests, rules around the thermostat, right? Rules around communal space. So it sets the precedent very clearly around what's acceptable and gives them a great structure in which to live. I also provide monthly house cleaner for, so the whole key here, guys, is you want to avoid tenant problems, right? What are the things that cause tenants to have issues, right? If the place isn't clean, we'll get a house cleaner. I provide shared products such as paper towels, toilet paper, dish soap, right? The last thing you want is have some big problem because Susie's using all the toilet paper that Jan's buying, right? Let's just take that out of play. Like $40 each month, Amazon, boom, problem solved. I use the concept of a house manager. So I usually choose a tenant who is willing to be eyes and ears, to be a point of contact. Maybe there's a showing that I can't make, or a handyman's coming and I can't meet them. I'll give them a little bit of a discount on rent, but they're the eyes and ears and the point of contact. They can let me know if there's problems in the house, things like that. Parking and assigned spaces is huge. So I make a parking map for everyone. Everyone gets one space, and first come, first serve, and then they stay in that space. That way you don't have people, competing. I'm going to get there 5 minutes early, and I'm going to beat Joe to that prime spot. No, just take that out of play, make it easy. You can either build in utility costs in the rent or build back actual costs. I've done both. I kind of like the actual cost model. It creates the right incentive. And then I have quarterly meetings at the house and just, bring in some drinks, bring in some food, just get some feedback. How things going? Is there any maintenance issues in the house that we need to take care of? And it just lets people air their grievances in a positive way, right? Well, I kind of wish that we wouldn't use the kitchen late at night, whatever it is, and we kind of talk through that. And there's an example of the digital lock I use on the doors. Okay, so here's this testimonial from one of our tenants who's been there for a long time. And again, I think the point is that I'm very surprised at how much people like it. They really do. I was very worried at first. I was like, is this going to work? But people like the community, and people stay for long term. It's not a lot of turnover, and it's been a great model. So let's talk about financials. So this is best case scenario. This is a unicorn, by the way. Oh, no, sorry. I'm going to come to that. I forgot. I'm partnering with PadSplit, so I just thought I would add a couple PadSplit slides. They're trying to expand in Sacramento, and I'm going to be part of a panel that they're setting up. But I think it's important because it's a great solution for somebody just getting out. And I would definitely recommend using PadSplit if this is new for you. But basically what they do on the loop with the host or the property owner is they create leads, they'll screen and place tenants, and then manage the collection of the membership. They use memberships, of the membership dues. But the key is that the property owner is really still responsible for acquiring, renovating, and staging the property, and then managing all other aspects of the property. So The property owner still needs to do that, but the primary thing they do is screen the tenants, place them, and collect the payments. And just to give you more insight, they take 100% of the first 10 days of a move-in. So whenever someone moves in, they take the first 10 days of that, and then it's 8% of the revenue on top of that. If you find your own tenant, you don't have to pay the booking fee. They'll just collect the rents and manage through their portal ongoing. And then lastly, they're not everywhere, but they're growing. So they're heavy in the southeast. You can see Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas. California, not so much, but they're, again, trying to expand in Sacramento. So that's a viable option. You can definitely look into them if you're interested. All right, here's the financials talking about. So this is our property, our first property that we bought. We got this property off market because it was just a great deal, and we weren't even sure what we were going to do with it. And so we had there were 3 levels. The bottom level, we created a 1-bedroom apartment and rented for $1,900 at the time. And then we put our daughters in the top. There was 5 bedrooms first, and with their roommates. And we're like, I don't know what we're doing. We're going to renovate it. We need some friendly people in there. So while we're renovating, we'll let them stay there. And then they started moving out. And then we thought, well, what are we going to do with this thing? Why don't we try this model? Let's just throw it up and see if we can rent it. We had a bedroom with a private bath. Threw it up for like $1,200. Rented right away. We're like, I think we're onto something. Let's try this out. So we have the bottom floor, 1950. These are actual numbers for this property for the last 12 months. Average $83.38 total rents. Expenses, you can see, much higher. So because you're paying for utilities, I pay for internet, landscaping, maintenance, as we talked about. Supplies, the Amazon order, and then cleaning. So $23.13, much higher than a normal. And the other thing that's not fair is I bought this in 2020, so my interest rate's 3.375. So again, unicorn. But this is what's possible. This is real numbers. This thing, average net profit is $3,800 a month. I mean, it's practically an ATM machine. And it really runs on its own now. I mean, I have the processes in place, and there's very, very few problems. So it's possible. Now, the second property, we have a regular DSCR loan that probably nets about $1,200 to $1,400. So that's a little more reasonable. But I did want to show you what was possible. All right, so in summary, co-living can produce over 3 times the return of a long-term rental, provides affordable housing to a population that is truly unserved today, a huge population that needs this, provides community to people who need it, and that's very real. And then the thing I love is the best properties have very few interested buyers if you're looking for the right things, and you can have huge leverage, and you can get great deals, even on properties that don't need to be renovated. I think it was Diana that said that earlier. A point about, yeah. And great for partnership opportunities. Like I said, I'm in the last one we just bought. I'm in it for no money of my own. I'm just going to manage it, and we're going to see how it goes. I'm hoping once we get to 8 bedrooms, it'll be about $3,000 a month return. Okay, and then contact me at any time. Phone, text, email. Our website has a Calendly link, and of course on Instagram. So it looks like, if I'm reading this right, Sean, 2 minutes for questions or no? All right, let's take a few questions. Yeah.
Hey, Eric, you said the best properties have fewer interested buyers, but I'm wondering, is that simply because you can get the property acquired at a discounted rate? Because I would think that the renters would also not want to live on a busy street, would also not want some of those things.
Can you repeat the question, Eric?
Yeah. So the question was, she says, I look for properties that no other people want, but wouldn't the renters also be deterred by a busy street or some of the other things? And not really, because, it's not their property for one. They're just looking for a quiet, clean, respectful place to live. And I find that, they don't care about that busy street, right? They're just looking for parking. They're looking for an affordable place. They're not looking at it as the same way as a homeowner would, right? Somebody who's looking to buy it and is going to live here for 10 years, they have different criteria. These people are just looking for, they want the inside of the place looking great. They don't hang out outside much, right? I'll go to these places and there'll be 5 cars and it's completely quiet. There's nobody in the common space, and they're just all in their bedrooms and just doing their thing, or they're at work or whatever. So it's a little different mentality. It doesn't seem intuitive, but it really works that way.
Is it more so you can get the property at a discount?
Yeah, exactly. It's more about getting the property at a discount. All these things that I talked about, these guys had no other offers. They had nowhere to go. And they were moving to Kentucky, so I mean, I had them. Sorry.
Hold on one second. Let me get you a mic. Hold on, just so everybody can hear the question. Here you are. Oh, you can do that.
Do you soundproof the rooms?
Soundproof the rooms. I have not necessarily, but it's a good call. I don't know. I mean, insulate. Oh, that's true. We did. Thank you. Our first property for the downstairs unit, it's an older house, so sound would definitely travel. So I put mass-loaded vinyl down below the flooring to separate that, and that seemed to help. But as far as the rooms, I haven't had to do too much.
Right here.
Hey, do you have any experience talking to like local jurisdictions or business development? So like in our area, they may be interested because it's lower income workers.
someone to run that.
Any scripts or any sort of,
I missed the first part. Working with
yeah,
who?
like business, the local jurisdiction, like their business development or their like future planning departments.
For like
things
affordable
that.
housing, you mean? Like
Yeah.
working with the government?
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet, but I think it's very viable. You saw the situation we're in. I mean, affordability is a real issue. I think if you
Yeah.
could partner with them. Now, again, I tend to be I try to stay in the little bit higher end areas. It's a different demographic, so I haven't done that yet. I don't know, anybody? Mary? Marie? I knew that. Why did I say that? Marie, I've known you for years. How did I do that?
Go ahead.
Just curious, your unicorn guest that's been there for a while, semi-professional woman with a nice bob.
Right?
How long has she been there? And how long do you think she might stay?
2 years, probably. Almost 2 years. Yeah, she actually moved from one house to another, too. Like, that happens, too.
Do you raise her rent after you?
You know, I haven't, because I just want to keep the status quo there. That's awesome. But I may at some point. There's one tenant who's moving out, actually, this month, so I finally have a turnover in one room. So we'll see. Yep.
Hi, Miranda. I was wondering, how do you structure your private money for co-living properties?
Yeah, so I use a lot of private money loans, just straight, just as we've been taught. Promissory note, deed, insurance. For this last one, I had a partner, so it was an equity situation. So I brought a partner in, he brought 160 grand for the down payment and for the gap funding, and I got a hard money loan. And so we closed on it 50-50 tenants in common, his LLC, my LLC. And then we're going to hold it 6 months, then we're going to refinance to a DSCR loan. Whatever money we get out of it, we'll pay him back, and we're just going to hold it long term.
Last one. And then, guys, any other questions? Eric's going to be available during the breaks, beginning of the day, end of the day. He'll be here all weekend.
I'll be here all week.
Just a question. Do you do mixed gender housing, or is it normally just like a Golden Girls on one side? And
It's a great question. So our mixed gender, guys versus girls. All right, so our first house, the one that I showed the financials on, is all women. Started that way, and then it's all women. The second house is mixed, and I don't seem to have any problem with that. The first one has a much better community, though. They hang out, they go to the store, they do stuff. Like they really bonded. And the second, they just do their own thing. They're very much more independent there. And so, yeah, obviously you can't discriminate, right? So you can't do that. But you can, when I post things for that first house, I'll post like female-friendly room, right? And just kind of just let everyone know that it's all female. And it generally goes that direction naturally.
How many of you guys didn't know that co-living existed before you walked in here, just out of curiosity? Not a lot of you, huh? Okay, cool. Let's give it up for Eric Tate and thank him for his time and education and knowledge.
Great job, man.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to